Listen to me, ladies. One of the biggest mistakes I see women making when they want a man to fall in love with them is being too available. You meet a guy, you like him, you feel the butterflies, and suddenly you're dropping everything just to answer his text, just to see him, just to make sure he knows you're into him. And on the surface, that feels right. You think, if I give him more of me, he'll appreciate me more. But here's the truth, men don't work like that. Men are wired to chase. Men are wired to go after what they feel might slip away. If you're always there every single time he calls, every single time he makes the smallest effort, then you've already given him the prize without making him run the race. See, a man's ego needs to feel like he earned something valuable. That's how men are built. You've heard me say it before, men love to hunt. Now, imagine a hunter walking into the woods and the deer just walks right up to him, lays down, and says, "Go ahead, do what you gotta do." You think that hunter is gonna feel proud of himself. You think he's gonna hang that on the wall and brag about it. No, why? Because there was no chase. There was no effort. There was no satisfaction in winning. That's exactly how men feel when you make yourself too available. His ego doesn't get tested. His pride doesn't get pushed. And without that push, he doesn't value what he has in front of him. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying play childish games. I'm not saying ignore him for weeks or pretend like you don't like him when you do. I'm talking about balance. I'm talking about not putting your whole world on pause the moment a man walks in. I'm talking about making him understand that if he wants your time, he's got to earn your time. Because the moment you show him that you'll drop everything for him, that you've got nothing else going on, you've just told his ego he doesn't have to work that hard. And the second a man feels he doesn't have to work hard, his love starts to fade into comfort. And let me tell you something. Comfort is the enemy of passion. You want him to love you madly. You want him to think about you all day. You want him to wonder what you're doing when he's not around. Then give him something to wonder about. Keep your life moving. Keep your schedule full. Keep your dreams alive. Don't answer every call on the first ring. Don't text back in 5 seconds flat. Let him sit there for a minute and feel the sting of not having instant access to you. Because in that moment, his ego is being challenged. He's thinking, wait a second, why isn't she available? Who's she with? What's she doing that's more important than me? And that's when he starts chasing harder. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man meets a woman, and every time he calls, she picks up. Every time he asks her out, she cancels whatever she had planned just to see him. At first, he's flattered. At first, his ego says, yeah, I got it like that. But after a while, he stops putting in effort because he already knows she'll always be there. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine he calls, and sometimes she answers, sometimes she's busy. He asks her out, but she says, I'd love to, but I already have plans with my girl. How about another night? Suddenly his ego is hit. Suddenly he's thinking, wait a minute, I'm not at the top of her list. I gotta do better. I gotta impress her more. And just like that, you've lit a fire in him. See, a man's ego doesn't grow when things come easy. His ego grows when he has to rise up, when he has to prove himself, when he has to feel like he conquered something worth conquering. That's when he starts valuing you. That's when he starts holding on to you tight, because he remembers how hard he had to work to get you. That's when he loves you madly, because he doesn't want to lose what he had to sweat for. And let me tell you, ladies, you're not just doing this for him. You're doing this for you. When you keep your life full, when you keep your dreams, your goals, your friendships, your hobbies, you're reminding yourself that you're valuable with or without him. You're not sitting around waiting on a man to give you meaning. You already got meaning. You already got purpose. You already got joy. That confidence, that independence, that energy, it drives a man crazy. He sees that and says, she doesn't need me, but she chose me. And let me tell you, that hits a man's ego in the best way possible. Because now he doesn't feel like you're clinging. He feels like he earned a place in your world, a world that was already full and shining before he walked in. The biggest secret about not being too available is this: it makes him feel the absence of you. And absence is powerful. When he can't reach you instantly, when he can't always predict where you'll be, his ego gets uncomfortable. He starts missing you. He starts checking his phone more often. He starts putting in more effort to lock down your time. And when he finally gets you, he values it 10 times more. That's not cruelty. That's not manipulation. That's understanding how men are wired. I've seen too many women give up their lives the second a man shows them some attention. They stop hanging with their friends. They stop chasing their goals. They stop taking care of themselves because all their energy goes into making him happy. And at first he might enjoy it, but over time that man starts taking it for granted. And then one day she's sitting there wondering why he doesn't call as much, why he doesn't plan dates anymore, why he doesn't look at her with that fire in his eyes. And the answer is simple. She gave him everything without making him earn it. His ego didn't have to stretch. His pride didn't have to hustle. And without that, his love never reached its full potential. So if you want him to love you madly, check his ego by not being too available. Keep him on his toes. Keep him working. Keep him chasing. Because when a man feels like he's got to work for your love, he never stops trying. And when he never stops trying, that's when you know you've got him, not just in his heart, but in his pride, in his soul, in his very being. Let me tell you something real, ladies. If you want a man to respect you, if you want him to see you as the kind of woman he can't play with, you gotta have boundaries, not suggestions, not soft limits, boundaries. And the key isn't just setting them, the key is sticking to them. Because here's the truth, a man will always test you. Always. It's in his nature. He's going to see how far he can go, how much you'll tolerate, how much slack you'll give. And the second he sees you fold, the second he sees you bend your own rules just to keep him happy, he knows he can push you. And once he knows that, baby, the game changes. Men are like kids when it comes to limits. If you tell a child not to touch the cookie jar, what do they want to do? They want to touch it. But if you tell them no, and then you actually let them get away with it one time, guess what? They'll try again tomorrow and the next day until the rule doesn't even exist anymore. That's the same way men approach boundaries. If you say, I won't tolerate being disrespected, but then you let him raise his voice at you and still let him sleep in your bed, he hears one thing. She talks strong, but she don't mean it. And when a man knows you don't mean it, his ego grows in the wrong way. His pride says, I can do what I want and she'll still be there. That's dangerous ground. But flip that around. Imagine you set a boundary and you enforce it. You tell him, if you cancel plans at the last minute, don't expect me to sit around waiting next time. And then you actually don't wait. You go out with your friends, you live your life. What message does that send? It tells him you mean what you say. It tells him your words carry weight. It tells him his actions have consequences. And let me tell you something. When a man feels those consequences, when his ego gets checked by your consistency, that's when he starts taking you seriously. Now, here's the part a lot of women miss. Boundaries are not about controlling a man. They're about controlling yourself. You can't stop a man from doing what he wants to do. If he wants to lie, cheat, waste time, he's gonna do it. But you can control what you allow in your space. You can control what you accept and what you don't accept. Boundaries are about protecting your value, not punishing him. That's why sticking to them is so powerful. It's not about making him suffer. It's about showing him who you are and what you stand for. Let me give you an example. Say you tell a man, I don't sleep with someone until I'm in a committed relationship. That's your boundary. Now, if you say that, but 2 weeks later, after a few smooth words and some sweet talk, you let him slide past that boundary, what did you teach him? You taught him your word is negotiable. You taught him that all he's got to do is apply pressure, and you'll fold. That doesn't build respect. That doesn't make him fall for you. That just feeds his ego in the wrong direction. Because now he thinks, if I could break this boundary, I can probably break the next one too. But if you say it, and you hold it even when it's hard, even when you want to give in, even when he's testing you with everything he's got, that's when he looks at you differently. His ego gets challenged because he can't just walk through the door like he owns the place. He's got to knock. He's got to earn the key. And when a man has to earn access to you, he values it more. He respects it more. And respect, let me tell you, is the foundation of love. Here's another piece people don't talk about. Boundaries actually make a man feel safe too. See, a man with no boundaries starts to lose respect, not just for you, but for himself. If he can do whatever he wants without consequences, eventually even he feels the emptiness of that. He'll run over you, yes, but in the back of his mind, he'll think, why does she let me? Doesn't she care enough about herself to stop me? That doesn't make him love you more, it makes him pull away. But when you have strong boundaries, it forces him to rise up. It forces him to be better. It forces him to treat you in a way that honors you. And a man feels proud when he can rise to the standard of a woman he admires. His ego actually loves the challenge, even if he doesn't admit it. Ladies, I've seen it too many times. A woman will set a boundary, and then the first time the man breaks it, she forgives it without any action. She excuses it because she likes him too much. She tells herself, oh, he didn't mean it, or it's just this one time. But here's the problem: men don't hear excuses, they hear permission. If you let it slide once, he'll try again. And before you know it, you've trained him to disrespect you. That's not his fault, that's yours. But on the flip side, when you stand firm, when you say, no, this is my standard, and you back it up with action, you've trained him to respect you. And that respect turns into admiration. That admiration turns into deep love. You don't have to yell. You don't have to argue. Boundaries don't mean constant conflict. They mean consistency. They mean you decide what's acceptable in your world, and you stand on it like a rock. If he crosses the line, you don't scream, you don't beg, you act, you pull back, you walk away. You show him you'd rather lose him than lose yourself. And let me tell you, that shakes a man's ego to the core. Because men are used to women bending, not standing. When he sees you stand, he knows he's dealing with a different kind of woman. And that right there is when the game changes. Men may not admit it, but they crave boundaries. A man respects a woman who respects herself. He might push against it at first, but deep down, he knows he needs it. Because if you let him get away with everything, his ego may feel good for a while, but eventually it'll get bored. He'll start looking elsewhere for a challenge. But if you're the one who checks him, if you're the one who keeps him in line, if you're the one who makes him rise higher, he'll stay. He'll stay because his pride is tied to you. He'll stay because his love is rooted in respect. He'll stay because he knows losing you would mean losing the standard that made him better. So when I say set boundaries and stick to them, I mean make them real. Write them down if you have to. Decide what matters to you, what you will and won't allow. And then practice it every single day. Because if you don't protect your boundaries, nobody else will. And the man in your life, if he's the right man, will step up to meet them. His ego will adjust. His pride will bend in the right way. And in that process, he won't just respect you. He'll fall in love with you madly, deeply, completely. Let me break this down to you real clear. A man's ego feeds on praise. Compliments are like fuel to a man. When you tell him he looks good, when you say he's strong, when you admire his hustle, he soaks it all up. And at first, that feels good. At first, you think, well, if I keep building him up, he'll love me more. But here's where so many women get it wrong. If you praise a man all the time, if you feed his ego constantly, he stops valuing it. Your words lose weight. They don't inspire him. They don't motivate him. They don't drive him anymore. They just become background noise. You ever notice how people get used to anything that comes too easy? It's like candy. At first, it's sweet. It's exciting. But if you eat it every single day, it doesn't even taste special anymore. Same thing with a man's ego. If you hand out praise every time he breathes, if you applaud him for every little thing, his ego feels inflated without effort. And what happens when a balloon gets filled with too much air? It pops. Too much empty praise doesn't make him love you. It makes him take you for granted. Now let me flip this for you. Imagine you start being selective with your praise. Instead of telling him every day that he's the greatest, you reserve those words for the moments he truly earns them. You hold back sometimes not because you don't see his efforts, but because you know the power of your approval. When you finally give it, it hits different. He feels it deep. His ego doesn't just get stroked, it gets rewarded. And let me tell you, a man will work 10 times harder when he knows your praise has to be earned. See, men are competitive by nature. From the time they're little boys, they're wired to win. Whether it's in sports, business, or relationships, they want to feel like they conquered something. And nothing fuels that competitive spirit more than selective praise. When he does something right, when he shows up for you, when he keeps his word, when he makes you proud, and you stop, look at him, and say, that's the kind of man I respect. It sets his ego on fire. Because now he's not just existing in your world, he's winning in it. He's earned a piece of your admiration. And once a man tastes that kind of win, he wants it again and again. The mistake is when women think constant praise keeps a man around. It doesn't. Constant praise makes him lazy. Constant praise makes him think, I don't have to try. She already sees me as the best. And when a man stops trying, the relationship gets dull. The passion fades. He takes your compliments for granted, and soon enough, he takes you for granted too. But when you praise him selectively, when you make him feel like every word you give him is gold, his ego can't relax. It stays hungry. It stays motivated. It keeps reaching for more. Let me give you an example. Say a man takes you out to dinner, and it's just an average spot he picked last minute. If you gush over it like he took you to a 5-star restaurant, what did you just teach him? You taught him average effort gets maximum reward. Next time, he won't push himself. He'll do the bare minimum because he knows you'll still shower him with compliments. But let's say you go on that same date and you enjoy it, but you don't overpraise. You thank him, but you save your real admiration for when he actually plans something special, when he actually puts in thought, when he really shows up for you. The moment he does that and you light up with genuine praise, now he knows the difference. His ego feels the reward, and that reward becomes addictive. It's the same way in sports. If every player got a trophy just for showing up, trophies wouldn't mean anything. But when only the best get rewarded, everybody works harder. Your praise is the trophy, and if you hand it out too freely, it loses all value. But if you make it something rare, something worth chasing, he'll compete for it like his life depends on it. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying starve a man of all appreciation. Men do need encouragement. They need to feel seen and valued. But the art is in giving it with intention. Be mindful. If he's been slacking, don't stroke his ego just to keep the peace. If he's half doing his role as a partner, don't gas him up like he's Prince Charming. Save your admiration for the moments when he's truly stepping into his best self. That's how you build a man who loves you madly, because now your words have weight. He knows if you say it, it's real, and a man craves authenticity. What you got to understand is this: men measure themselves by results. They don't just want easy love. They want to feel like they've achieved something. So when your praise is selective, when it only comes after he's shown consistency, effort, and commitment, you're aligning with how his ego naturally works. His pride tells him, I want to earn her respect. And every time he gets it, his love for you deepens because now his ego is tied to pleasing you. Ladies, some of you are building men's egos the wrong way. You're praising them for what they should already be doing. You're clapping for basic effort. You're throwing parades for crumbs. That doesn't inspire him. It spoils him. But when you raise the bar, when you save your praise for when he really deserves it, you challenge him. You keep him on his toes. And a man in love with a woman who challenges him is a man who stays passionate. Think about it like this. If you told a man every day he was the strongest person alive, but he never had to lift a single weight, after a while those words would feel empty. But if he actually trained, if he pushed himself, if he worked until he was sweating and exhausted, and then you looked him in the eye and said, you're the strongest man I know, that hits different. That goes straight to his ego and sticks there because he earned it. The same applies in relationships. Don't just tell him he's amazing. Make sure he knows he's amazing because he worked for it. Don't just say, you're the best man I've ever met. Say, you showed me tonight why you're the best. Tie your praise to real action. That's how you make him crave more. That's how you make him chase harder. That's how you make him love you madly. The beauty of selective praise is that it keeps both of you accountable. It forces him to keep striving, and it forces you to stay honest. You don't just hand out love without thought. You make it intentional. And intentional love is powerful because when you finally speak those words, when you finally stroke his ego, he knows it's not flattery. He knows it's truth. And truth, ladies, is what a man holds on to forever. Let me put this plain and simple. The strongest way to hit a man's ego in just the right spot, the kind of hit that makes him wake up and realize he better love you right, is to show him you can shine without him. See, a lot of women think the way to get a man to stay, to get a man to love them hard, is to make him feel like he's their whole world. They think if they center everything around him, he'll see how much he's needed and won't go anywhere. But the truth is, that's not how a man's mind works. That's not how his ego works. If a man feels like you can't live without him, he doesn't value that. His ego may enjoy it at first, but deep down, he knows he didn't have to do anything to earn that love. It's just given to him on a silver platter, and anything given too freely is rarely cherished. But when a man sees you shining without him, when he sees you living your life, smiling, thriving, building, creating, when he sees that you're already whole, already powerful, already in motion before he even enters the picture, that shakes him up. That challenges his ego. That makes him say, hold on now, this woman don't need me. She chose me. And let me tell you, there's a world of difference between a woman who needs a man and a woman who chooses a man. You see, a man's ego wants to feel proud of who he's with. He wants to feel like he's standing next to a woman who lights up a room, who carries herself like a queen, who don't beg for his presence but enhances it. When you show him you can shine without him, you're telling him, I'm valuable on my own. You being here is a privilege, not a necessity. And that does two things. It humbles his ego because he knows he doesn't own you, and it ignites his love because he knows if he doesn't step up, somebody else will. Now, I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not saying you got to flaunt your independence in his face every second. I'm talking about living your life fully. Keep your goals alive. Keep your friendship strong. Keep your passions burning. Too many women make the mistake of putting their entire existence on hold the moment they get into a relationship. They stop chasing their dreams. They stop hanging out with their friends. They stop doing the things that made them interesting in the first place. And then they wonder why the man's interest starts fading. It fades because his ego isn't being challenged anymore. He's not seeing that shine. He's not seeing that spark that caught his attention in the first place. Let me give you an example. Think about the woman who keeps her career going strong, who's always learning, growing, and chasing her goals. She doesn't cancel her life just because a man came along. She keeps her schedule busy, her dreams alive. Now imagine how that man feels when he sees her succeeding, when he sees other people admiring her, when he sees her getting recognition for the work she's doing. His ego feels that. He knows he's not the only source of her joy, and that pushes him to step up. He starts thinking, I better hold on to her because she's the kind of woman everybody else wants. That's how you make him love you madly, not by dimming your light to make him feel bigger, but by shining so bright he can't ignore it. Another thing, when you shine without him, you create what I like to call healthy tension. That's the space where a man sees you're not waiting on his every move. You're not glued to your phone waiting for his text. You're not rearranging your whole life every time he calls. You've got things going on. And when he sees that his ego doesn't get to sit back and relax, it gets stirred up. He starts to think, what's she doing? Who's she with? Why isn't she chasing me like every other woman? And let me tell you, that's when his ego goes to work. That's when he starts chasing harder. Because nothing drives a man crazier than knowing the woman he wants is fully capable of being happy without him. See, men are wired to compete. When you show him you're thriving without him, you're not competing with him. You're competing with his own ego. You're showing him he's got to step up because you're already winning with or without his help. And once a man feels like he's got to rise to meet your level, he invests more. He puts in more energy, more love, more commitment, because he wants to be worthy of standing next to you. Ladies, the trap so many of you fall into is thinking that if you show too much independence, you'll scare him away. But let me tell you the truth. The right man won't be scared. He'll be inspired. The right man's ego won't shrink when he sees you shining. It'll expand because he'll be proud to say, that's my woman. If your light makes a man feel small, he's not the man for you. The one who's meant for you will love you madly for the very same reasons another man might feel intimidated. When you show him you can shine without him, you also protect yourself. You're reminding yourself that your happiness is not tied to his mood, his attention, or his approval. You're whole on your own. And let me tell you, nothing attracts a man more than a woman who knows her worth, a woman who's happy in her own skin, a woman who isn't waiting to be saved. Because that kind of woman makes him feel like winning her heart is the greatest accomplishment he could ever achieve. His ego doesn't just get stroked, it gets satisfied in the deepest way possible. And here's the kicker: when a man knows you can shine without him, he doesn't take you for granted. He doesn't slack off, because in the back of his mind, He knows you don't need him. You're with him because you want him. And that's the most powerful position you can hold in a relationship. It makes his love deeper, more intentional, more serious. Because he knows if he loses you, he's not just losing a woman, he's losing a force. He's losing a light. He's losing someone who made his world brighter, but who will still shine just as bright even if he's not in it. That right there is what humbles a man's ego. That right there is what makes him love you madly. Because no man wants to lose a woman who shines without him. He wants to be part of that shine. He wants to stand next to it, protect it, and claim it proudly. But he'll only do that if you never dim your light in the first place. So keep shining, keep building, keep thriving. Show him every day that your life is full, your spirit is alive, and your happiness is intact, with or without him. That's the kind of truth that checks a man's ego and binds his love to you in the strongest way possible.